condolence for the law enforcement officers who lost their life in Charlotte this past week and those that were injured. So if you would, bow your heads, please. Oh, merciful and loving God, we come before you with heavy hearts, grieving the loss of 4 brave law enforcement officers who have fallen in the line of duty, and praying for your healing hands to be upon those who were injured during this same incident. We ask for your comfort to surround the families and loved ones of these courageous souls. May your peace, which passes all understanding, guard their hearts and minds during this time of sorrow. We as ordinary citizens have no comprehension of the dangers and the harm that our police officers and first responders face on a daily basis. Protect them from harm, and please place your hedge of protection around these brave souls and their families. In your holy name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, Council, you had quite a bit of reading material to go over this month. I trust everybody read that, and I appreciate your time in doing so. Next, item 5, open forum, and I'll read the guidelines real quick for open forum. The council shall provide at least one period for public comment per month during a regular meeting, unless no regular meeting is held that month. Any individual or group who wishes to address the council shall inform the town clerk anytime prior to the start of the meeting and provide their name, address, and subject matter about which they wish to speak. Persons must be present if they wish to address council. All comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Is there anyone here tonight who wishes to speak who has not signed up? Going once, going twice, gone. Okay. First, under open forum, I have a resolution of appreciation. Folks, I have new eyes this week, so you have to bear with me on this. If W.T. Sorrell will come forward, please. Also, folks, tonight when you speak, please speak into the microphone so everyone can hear you. W.T. Whereas W.T. Sorrell for the past 8 years has served the town of Valdese with distinction as a committed and dedicated board member with the Valdese ABC Board. And whereas W.T.'s 8 years of service have been marked by exemplary dedication, integrity, and professionalism to serve the best interests of the community, our citizens, and the Valdese ABC Board. And whereas W.T. has earned the admiration and high regard of those with whom he has worked and the members of the public with whom he has served these past 8 years. And whereas W.T. began serving the Valdese ABC Board as a board member at a time when the organization was still seeking profitability, and through his leadership realized the promise of quarterly distributions from the Valdese ABC Board to the town of Valdese and its citizens. And whereas W.T. has been instrumental in the operational oversight of the Valdese ABC Board, establishing a strong foundation of wisdom, integrity, and experience. And whereas W.T. has been instrumental in securing a promising future for the Valdese ABC Board by recruiting and hiring staff members who are qualified, committed, and progressive in improving the quality of experience for customers and community. And whereas W.T. has demonstrated a career of accomplishment and distinction in the industry, local government, administration, and strong leadership to those who he has served. Now therefore be it resolved by the town of Valdese and the Valdese Town Council as we take this occasion to express honor, respect, and admiration to W.T. Sorrell for his outstanding contributions to the Valdese ABC Board and the town of Valdese. Be it further resolved that the Valdese Town Council of the town of Valdese, North Carolina hereby expresses its sincere appreciation and gratitude to W.T. Sorrell for his service and leadership to the Valdese ABC Board and the town of Valdese during the past 8 years, and extends congratulations and best wishes upon the expiration of his term, adopted this day, the first day of April 2024. Thank you. Also, for those of you that don't know, WT used to work for USDA and was instrumental in getting us several fire trucks at very cheap interest rates. WT, thank you. I appreciate you. Okay, next, under open forum, item B is the Valdese Pilot Club AED presentation.
Is that low enough? Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Julie Huffman with the Pilot Club of Valdese. One of our Pilot Club members is an active aquasize participant at the Valdese Rec Center. It was brought to her attention by one of the guards, Mr. Elias Phipps, that there was not an AED at the splash pad building. With children on the splash pad continually and many exercise programs in the adjacent building, there could be an accident waiting to happen. So with the assistance of Mayor Watts and the Valdese Fire Department, plus a matching grant from Pilot International, the Pilot Club of Valdese was able to purchase 2 AEDs with first aid attachments. It is my privilege as president of the Pilot Club of Valdese to present to the town these 2 AEDs. One to be housed in the splash pad building and the other to be housed at the Old Rock School. This will make our 8th and 9th AEDs we have contributed to the community.
Ladies, I cannot say enough for what you folks do for our community and for the surrounding community. Your AEDs, I know, have saved lives. One of the earlier ones went to a local fire department on the east end of the county that their funding is so low that their members pay for gas in their trucks out of their pockets. That's how bad their funding is, because they have no tax revenue. These save lives, and you folks can be proud that this program that you push with all your heart has saved lives. And it's great having you guys in town. You're part of what makes Valdese Valdese. And I appreciate you with all my heart.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I may need that tonight. The first AED that we had in town, the first time we used it, the fire department used it, saved a gentleman's life over on Garou Avenue. So that was pretty impressive. I was glad to be a part of that. Okay, next, open forum public speaking. And our first speaker is Mr. Ronnie Harmon. Sir.
Good evening. So my name's Ronnie Harmon. I'm a lifelong resident of Valdese. Married my high school sweetheart at Eastburg. Well, not at Eastburg, but met her at Eastburg. Went in the military, came out of boot camp, married her, and still in love after 32 years. It's been a blessing. So I haven't had to come to talk to the council before after all these years I've lived here, but I felt the need tonight because there's an issue that's come up that we need to talk about. So about a year ago, we moved our operations from Morganton to Valdese. And what we do, Burke On-Site Computer Solutions, we provide IT support to a lot of businesses in North Carolina, the local community. We're very well rooted in Valdese. We have clients all over Valdese. We have, we've helped Valdese Museum, First Presbyterian Church. We're working with Old Rock School on their renovations. We installed this streaming service that you guys have here with the help of a couple other local businesses. So what we are here to talk about is Foothills Broadband and how important they are to our business. When we bought the building in Valdese, we never thought that we wouldn't be able to get internet in that building. Building on Town Square did not have any internet going to it. So we called a local broadband company. They said, yeah, we can get it to you. The speed's not gonna be that great, and it's gonna cost thousands of dollars to get it to you. We called another local ISP, internet service provider. They said, we can get it to you. It's gonna take, about a month. And the speeds just wasn't gonna be what we needed. So what we did was we got a cell phone carrier to shoot the internet from High Peak Mountain to our building. We had to put an antenna on our building. 25 meg is what we had, which is almost nothing. So what we had to do there for a while is send folks home to work because we just couldn't work there. It was bad. I mean, we had customers complaining because our remote connections were cut off. Our guys were screaming that they couldn't service their clients. So not long after that, Foothills Broadband came into town and they said, hey, we can get you internet to your building and we can get you a gig up and down, which means symmetrical, so you have 1,000 meg up, 1,000 meg down. So we said, wonderful, get it to us as fast as you can so we can get these guys back to work over here. And they did. Not too long after that, we had a gigabit fiber internet connection there, and that has allowed us to offer more services to our clients that we otherwise couldn't have. So it's very important. Foothills Broadband we have to have them now. We have to have them. Doing business without that connection is just not going to be. We just can't do it. They're good people, Jody and Zach. They're hometown people. They're natives. They're our native sons and daughters. They're not going to do anything to, they're just going to do right by Valdese, I feel like. So anyway, I just ask for your continued support with us. And I want to thank the town of Valdese for putting their arms around us and welcoming us the way they did. The community's been great. So I just hope that you guys will work with them, figure out something, so they can move forward and provide Valdese with infrastructure they need for fiber. The last thing I want to talk about is artificial intelligence. That's coming with a vengeance. We don't know what we don't know, but what we do know is that AI is going to surpass infrastructure. There's not going to be enough. So Foothills Broadband has the capacity with what they're putting in underground, which makes it very reliable, but they have the capacity to not only give us a gig, but a lot more than that when we're going to need it for AI. So I just ask that you continue to work with them, do whatever we can to help them. I know I will, our company will, and I just appreciate your time tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Rick McClure.
Hi, my name is Rick McClure. I live at 408 Grew Avenue, and ever since Ronnie started the internet stuff, he and I have been working together. When I started my business, when I left Corning in 2002, January 1st, I was probably one of the first guys in the area that started doing home theater from Valdese. Most of my stuff was around the lake and stuff. Everything I did had technology tied to it. One of my first customers, or one of the customers I had at Lake James, he didn't have internet. All he had was a hotspot. So I found a device that turned a hotspot into an Ethernet cable coming out the other end so he could have his Sony speakers in his bedroom and have it operated off a cell phone. Technology is here. Technology is going to be great. I'm probably the only guy in the building that sat down with the guy from Corning that actually developed fiber optics. As my job at Corning, I also took care of everybody that came in to speak at Corning. So I had to put a microphone on them. I had to show them around the building. And so being he's the guy that started fiber, I was kind of curious, and I was able to talk to him about some different things. And so all of my experience from Corning on has been a lot of technology. I've learned a lot, and I know that we need what broadband can do for us. Lightning does not bother it too much. Outages probably less. One of the problems we have here, though, is when they started making the contracts and stuff, they only gave Zach a year's contract. The town council and the town attorney should have known that that was a problem. They're getting ready to put $4 million in the ground and only give him a one-year contract. And that was flawed from the beginning. Here again, we're trying to straighten out problems that started by the town council. The guy's he's got a great attitude, he's got great business, he's gonna bring all kind of stuff to Valdese. I think we need to try to help him out as much as possible and give him, I know we're working with the buildings we have in town, we're trying to decide what to do with them. So that's coming. And the only thing is, we're trying to straighten out a problem that's created a year ago. Let's try to work, get our heads together, get this problem solved. If it has to go several months and stuff, with month to month, we do that. And but it's really not all his problem. It was created a year ago. So we need to straighten that out. Thanks. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Jim Jackman.
Mayor and Council, Jim Jackman, 3690 Middle Bridge Road, Connolly Springs. I want to first off thank you guys for all this additional paperwork that shows somebody's been working. And somebody's been working hard. And to that end, I want to tell you how much it's appreciated by all the folks I talk with in town. Our new police chief is working on our vagrant problem, which has been a real problem for us at the Trail of Faith over the past year or so. We thought we'd burn the big motor out because they'd come over the fence where they're staying over there and was down there playing with our old 135-year-old sawmill now. And lo and behold, we found out, no, they'd just almost burned it out, but they hit a reset button. They thought started something and it cut everything off, so thank the Lord for that. We're trying to get the old engine running again. We've had a number of tour groups to come through that was looking forward to seeing the old engine run again and the sawmill work. So we think we'll have that back up and working again. I noticed that we're getting ready to sell a bunch of properties in the town that can end up being dollars that in turn can reduce taxes in Valdese, or at least hold them down. That's commendable. And the broadband we're talking about, the only thing that, and our prior speaker mentioned it, when we started, we didn't do our thinking. And so I'd like to share something I learned a number of years ago we call the 6 Ps. Previous, prior, planning, prevents, poor, performance. Now, something that amounted to that much coverage, we have about 4,500 folks in Valdese now or so, but you're representing every one of those people when you start to negotiate what it ought to cost to make town of Valdese available to them to in turn make money. They're in business. And I just would ask for you to think about every individual that pays the taxes when you do this negotiate. And I'd suggest to you, if it takes another month to get this done right, do that. But there's ways to calculate just what you ought to be charging for this service. What the town, the citizens of Valdese ought to be getting when they give this service to any company to operate. Now, if you treat the owner of this business right and he treats you right, there's two winners, he and Valdese. So just take your time. Rome wasn't built in a day, but take your time and negotiate this out where it's fair to Valdese and fair to this gentleman and his company. And continue with that same practice from here on. And once we do, this paperwork will get a little bit smaller, but good things will continue to happen. Thank you again for the great police chief you got on board here now. We've seen a big difference already out at the trail. Had a lot of compliments, so just keep the good work up.
Thank you. Mr. Zachary Chiz.
Good evening, council. Tonight, I would just like to take a moment to read two letters to you guys. One from a business owner here that has been here for a very long time, and one from a resident that's on Flat Gap Mountain. So I'll start with the resident from Flat Gap Mountain. To the Town Council of Valdese, first, thank you for taking the time to listen to this letter. My name is Dallas Studemeyer. I live up on Flat Gap Mountain on Carswell Road. I am a business owner and depend upon my home office to run my business. Decent internet service is a real challenge for me. My only choices have been HughesNet and CenturyLink. I actually have both, but neither perform to the level I need them to for my business. I spoke with and signed up for Foothills Broadband last year. I have been anxiously awaiting this service to cross Interstate 40 and come up Flat Gap Road. I am writing to you to please consider allowing Foothills Broadband to continue operations in the town of Valdese without delay. Foothills Broadband will prove to be an amazing service for the town of Valdese and the residents and businesses just outside of the town limits as well. Thank you again for your time and consideration, Dallas. And I'll make these available to you if you would like a copy. The second is from Willie Bradshaw at Fun Cycles, right off the interstate. I think we all know where the big motorcycle is there, right? Valdese Town Council, thank you for the opportunity to express support for Foothills Broadband and the opportunities this company can provide to the citizens and businesses of Valdese and the surrounding area. As a business owner in Valdese, internet accessibility and dependability are major factors in the day-to-day operation of the business. Every aspect of operating has a need for internet connectivity, from waiting on customers, communicating with customers and distributors, to being able to order parts and accessories, to ordering the actual limits. All aspects rely on access to dependable internet connection. Foothills Broadband gives businesses another option, an option that is expected to be faster and more dependable. On a personal level, having access to more reliable internet service across Interstate 40 and up the mountain, in quotation marks, is desperately needed. Living in an area with limited access to internet causes problems for any family having children needing access for homework. There is also an issue of cellular service being very spotty and non-existent in this area. This raises concern for anyone who might need emergency services at any given time. Please consider renewing the lease of town property to Foothills Broadband in order for this much-needed service to continue expanding in Valdese and the surrounding areas. Sincerely, Willie Bradshaw. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Barters.
My name is Tim Barros. I live at 998 Laurel Street Northeast in Valdese. First, I'd like to say thank you to our town employees. Most of you struggle to live with today's inflation, and the best way to really say thank you is to pay you for your service, dedication, loyalty, credentials, knowledge, and experience that you give to Valdese each day. 5% just does not cover the cost of living. This council agreed during the strategic planning that one of the top priorities identified was the recruitment and retention of employees. How will we remain competitive in today's job market? What are the plans for the future? Let's take a moment and look at the factors that pertain to the budget. Most of the citizens remember more than just a campaign promise of a 41.5-cent tax rate. The promise of transparency was displayed all over town. Citizens were also promised a tax refund. Previously, on March 4th, I spoke to you about the fees being charged for emails and records requests. Let me be clear again. The reason for the request was and is the citizens' concern for lack of transparency that was promised to the citizens. I have also requested the town attorney invoices for the months of December 2023, January, February, and March of 2024. After receiving the requested emails, it was rather disheartening to read the public records filled with disgusting, immoral, dishonorable, and passive-aggressive and bullying content. Out of respect for the council members mentioned their innocent family members and employees, these emails will not be read this evening. These documents are public record and are clear evidence that there will be little to no transparency and or professionalism. So let's take a look at the attorney invoice breakdown. This was the data that was collected from the 4 months mentioned earlier. Most of these charges are from a single council member. 42 emails at almost 50 billable hours was $9,357. There was 11 phone calls, billable almost 3 hours at $611. Now we have, instead of the 4 meetings, we got 11 meetings. 2 of these were meetings with just the town manager and a council member. The billable hours here were almost 50 hours, and they were at $12,220. Parks and Rec project was $2,600. The news media records request was about $4,100. Citizens request was $752. However, this is not accurate. It should be between probably $2,000 and $2,500 because they were not itemized. So let's back up a second. So from the previous year, a whole year's worth of attorney's service prior to this council was $35,537. From December 2023 to March 2024, $41,939.19. So instead of the $80,000 attorney fee increase to the budget, how about being mindful how much we spend? We must take care of our precious resource and those that actually carry out our services. We have a lot of our employees struggling to live on their salaries as the cost of living continues to rise. They have served you. Now it's time for you to serve them. It costs $26,000 per each percent for employee raise. So take the attorney fees and give them a 7% raise, something that will make them make a little difference. The behavior towards town employees, businessmen, citizens, and other professionals that often gets displayed at public meetings by certain council members is distasteful, disrespectful, and inconsistent with the values of the citizens of Valdese. I think we, the citizens of Valdese, would like to know, what are the plans for the future? 41.5-cent tax rate this year, which is great. Is it the plan to maintain this rate, or is this only for 1 year? Please answer this question. Thank you.
Okay, council, your next item on your agenda, item 6, the consent agenda. Is there anything to be removed by council from the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, I ask for a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any further discussion? Okay, those in favor of approval of consent agenda signify by raising your right hand and saying yes.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. New business. Under new business, item A, And we have an update from Burke Development Incorporated by Mr. Alan Wood. Sir, good to have you, Alan.
Mayor, council, manager, clerk, everyone else, thank you for this opportunity. Many of you I have not met and haven't had a great opportunity, but it is a pleasure to be here with you. I will run through this fairly quickly, and we'll leave some time for questions if there are any. So BDI has a staff of 4. We increased that by 25%. We did hire a new marketing person. We shifted some information around. Peggy Bird has reduced her hours somewhat. We hired a young man, Caleb Gardner. He is a Burke County product. He's been a lifelong resident. I will say that we interviewed about 7 or 8 people for this job. I was very, very impressed with the quality of the people that applied to work with us. Caleb, my biggest problem now is keeping up with him. So I don't know what that says about me, but I have a great deal of respect for the work that he's doing, and he's going to be a real asset for us. We are funded by the county and 6 municipalities. We thank you very, very much for your support. We also receive grant funds, and we are also funded by private companies and individuals. We go through every year and process a plan of work. We spent a day at a retreat last year with our board and other members looking at the things that we felt were important and that we needed to pay attention to. It's not a surprise that housing comes to the top of that list. From a new housing study that was released by the county, we're roughly 5,000 housing units short that we need over the next 4 years. That directly impacts our ability to recruit business and the amount of workforce that we need. We hired Caleb to help us with our marketing. He's already paying dividends. We have lengthened our reach. Hope Hopkins, who's the number 2 in my staff, and I have been in constant contact with site developers, our folks at EDPNC, the Economic Development Partnership in North Carolina. As a matter of fact, I'm going there tomorrow, trying to get us to the forefront of companies that are looking to expand. Infrastructure is a constant challenge. How can we help expand that and get it to the areas where it's most needed? You'll see some things on sites and buildings. That's what we spent a lot of our time on in the last 12 months. And then finally, workforce development. We're in year 3 of a internship program that we helped start with Work in Burke and our community college and our school system. I think we have 42 interns signed up to work with local companies with 17 businesses this summer. This is, as I say, year 3. We went from 15 year 1 to 22 year 2, and we're starting with 42. We hope to graduate all 42 of those. It's an 8-week program. It is a paid internship. And last year of the 22 that completed the program, 9 of them went back to school and 13 of them actually took jobs with the company that they interned with. So this is a way that we're trying to engage our younger adults into this community. If we get them engaged before they get out of high school, we have a much better chance of keeping them engaged in the future. It is a serious issue and a challenge we have in the number of disengaged youth in our community. It's roughly 20.5% of our 18 to 24-year-olds. There is some positive news. That's actually down 1.5%. So some of the things that are going on, we are working. It's just not fast enough.
I'm going to interrupt. One of the things that astonishes me is what you just said about the 18 to 24-year-olds that are disengaged. They don't work, they don't go to school. I guess they're in their basement.
They could be working for cash, but they are not caught in any of the statistics as either in the workforce or in school.
And that's a large number that we could tap into.
And once they get out of school, it becomes very, very difficult to track them down. It's hard to find them in large groups anywhere. But as I say, we are having success. We received a grant. There's a program that at the end of the presentation, I'll just go, Jobs, Education, and Training, the acronym JET. And the specific target of that are these 18 to 24-year-olds, either to get them in school or get them into the labor force. While I'm at it, there's also, we're trying to tie the apprenticeships or the internships in with the apprenticeships. I think there are 15 companies that now have apprenticeship programs. We don't directly handle that, but we very closely support Western Piedmont, and they've made major, major progress in those efforts. Business retention expansion, most new jobs are created from your existing companies. We have 131 manufacturing plus or minus concerns in Burke County. We're still 27% manufacturing in Burke County. We're one of the highest communities in the state for those numbers. It took a dip, but it has recovered, and we're very happy. We've got a lot of international companies and local companies. You'll see some names on there that you've recognized for a couple generations or more. But there are also several new ones that have moved into some of our vacant buildings and have been a real addition to our labor force. I'll point out one, I thought this was interesting. Gersheimer actually did a $100 million expansion last year with 100 jobs. It was the quietest $100 million expansion I've ever seen in my life. It's amazing how times change.
Well, who was that again now?
Gersheimer. Since 2018, roughly 5 years, we have been lucky enough to announce projects, work with companies that have announced about 1,110 jobs. We track these closely because a lot of times incentives are tied to those. We follow the UCI, the unemployment insurance form, and that's to verify that they are hiring the people and that the labor rates are where they're supposed to be. Those companies accounted for about $350 million of capital expense. That's what they have invested in the community or are investing, because some of these projects are still in progress.
Excuse me. On that last slide,
Yes, sir.
could you tell us if any of those are in Valdese?
Not off of this list, but Meritor is the one that we've probably, not Meritor, but Meridian is the most recent one we've had in Valdese. We stay in progress or process with, in conversation with the others. We just have not had a project with them in this timeline. This is something I think we need to really pay attention to. The state average wage is $65,409. Burke County is $45,083. We are roughly 32% below the state average. We're 17% below the Catawba average. That's why it is important for us to continue to support manufacturing jobs and their growth. I say that because anytime that we have had a project that we have incentivized, that we have worked with, one of our requirements is that they at least match the county wage, and in most places, most concerns, they're required to pay at least 10% above the county wage. So we will not incentivize a project. We will not ask for incentives for a project that do not at least match the county average.
What's the date on those averages?
That is 2023. Well, it says 2024, but it actually is cut off at January 1. But those are the numbers for this fiscal year.
Alan, that number is median, or excuse me, that's per capita?
That's the average wages per person wage, yeah.
I did notice, I was reading earlier that the median household income is, for Valdese, is actually $66,000. It's 20% higher than Hickory, Lenore, and Morganton. So that's something the council needs to recognize, that our median household income in Valdese is much higher than surrounding communities.
Those figures just came in today from the LGC, so.
I had not seen those yet, but I know what the county average was last year, so you're one up on me. Haven't
That's
seen
okay.
that one
I thought
yet.
That's a good
Well,
that was an opening. I thought I'd
yes,
take
sir.
advantage of it.
Yes, sir. One of the things I mentioned was product development. There's a misperception that we are sitting on a lot of vacant buildings. There is one vacant building in Valdese that I wish to goodness I could do something about. It's outside of most anyone here or anyone here's control. If we had it, it would be full. That's just the bottom line. There is not a vacant building of significant quality, of manufacturing quality, that would handle an advanced manufacturer anywhere within Burke County, or probably a 30-mile radius. We just had a survey done in October, so there could have been something that slipped in, but there's not one in Burke County. Of that I can assure you. They have all been backfilled, which leads to the next issue. These are the number of inquiries that we have not been able to respond to in the last 12 months because we did not have a building, and they required a building for us to specify. These are all projects that would have paid, if memory serves, these pay probably an average of $55,000 per job. From a state perspective, this is important because you look at the sizes. The sweet spot in there is 50 to 100,000 square feet, 100 to 200,000 square feet. That's where our focus would be. We did have a report back to us, and those are the two sizes. If we were to approach doing a speculative building, those are the sizes that would most likely get interest in the short term. There are a handful of the larger ones, and we'll touch on that just a little bit. The business park, there is currently a building under construction. We're in a little bit of a pause, but that should be cleared up shortly. Anybody that knows what's going on in the banking world would not be surprised that financing pops up occasionally, but I'm in constant communication with those folks, and I anticipate that is back underway shortly. There are 4 pads left in the business park, and I will point out something here. We've been very fortunate and successful to get state grant funding to help us with that infrastructure. The water tank was paid for 75% by infrastructure development from the state. The road that will come off Sundown Road to the back pads is ARC money. So we've been very the infrastructure money on water and sewer came from Golden Leaf and Infrastructure Development Fund again. So we've been very fortunate to drive the rest of that infrastructure that we need to build out this park. And we can put roughly another 500,000 square feet in there. And we are pitching these. That's one of the reasons I'm going to Raleigh tomorrow to sit down with the developers that are carrying projects. We submitted for 2 projects for the park, and I just want to make sure they have all the information and they can figure out that, you know, we are still in the same state they're located. So sometimes I question whether they believe us or not. So they believe they get to I-77, they got to either go north, south, and they can't keep coming west. Your neighbors in Drexel, we have worked very diligently with them. It's amazing the amount of work that it's taken to get this site to this location. It was a brownfield site. It's one of probably the few 100-acre rail serve sites in western North Carolina. We think that it has significant value, and jobs there will help us all across the board. I'm sure that you've probably heard a little about this. I'll go ahead and touch on it just briefly, and once again, I'll be happy to answer questions. That goes back to the statement I just made about thinking that they had to go north-south when they hit I-77. Take a look at that slide and notice where there's a great big void on large projects being announced. That is significant, and you'll see why as we move forward. We do have the Great Meadows site under option. We are, it's roughly 1,353 acres total. Of that, the portion in Burke County, half of it roughly is already zoned industrial. We have been working due diligence on this site. The reason this site is so important is there's not a single place. There are two places that I have found in Burke County that has access to heavy power. This is one of them. I could talk for a long time on the power grid, but I won't bore you. But this site has water, sewer, power, rail, sitting right on the interstate. It is one of the jewels that could be developed and lead to major, major growth. Just a few numbers. This is like 0.3% of the total land mass of Burke County. It could generate 25 to 25% of the tax base for the entire county on this site. That's the kind of projects. That's why this site is so important. It's located within a day's drive time of all of the major auto manufacturers that have been developed in the Southeast. Why is that important? Because since 2021, that's $71.2 billion of capital investment. And those jobs that I mentioned, they're going to pay about $60,000 to $65,000 a year. This is what modern manufacturing looks like. It's not smokestacks, it's not cesspools. It's clean, it's environmentally friendly, it's developed in concert with the community, and it's also done in a manner which is attractive. This one is still under construction, and this is a Samsung facility in Texas. This goes back to what I was talking about. 33% of all of the land mass in Burke County is tied up in parks, national forests, public lands. There's less than 400 acres right now of industrial property, excluding the Great Meadows site that is developable in Burke County. Why is that important? For every dollar of property tax you receive, usually on residential property, and these numbers are give or take a little, you spend about $1.30. For every dollar that you collect, industrial, commercial, you spend about 65 cents. That's when you have to have a balance. And if you don't have a place for that growth, you'll find yourself facing some challenges you really don't want to face. We're looking at our target industries, automobile, that business is still growing. We don't know where it's going. I'm seeing this change so rapidly that whatever we thought today, by the time I wake up in the morning, it's going to be somewhere else. The advancements are amazing. I'm hearing electric vehicles now. Toyota and Honda are projecting they'll have 700 to 900 miles on a charge. That's dry cell technology. That's just how quickly it's changing. Aerospace, we're sitting very close to Boeing, Pratt Whitney, Honda Jet out of Greensboro. We're all in the loop for their supply chain. And then other advanced manufacturing, microchips, there's a lot of money in the environment for microchips. We're not going to get a big biopharma project. We just don't have the labor force for it. But these other projects, we do have people that are qualified, and we have 1.8 million people within an hour's drive time of our location. Also, one more thing, and then I'll take some questions if there are any. We have roughly 7,000 people a day that leave Burke County to work somewhere else. A lot of those people would be happy to work here if we are able to find the jobs that pay them the wages to keep them home. So I know that I'm taking up a lot of your time. I've covered a lot of this. I mentioned the housing, and I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
Council?
I just want to be the first to say that if ever I'm wrong, I will be the one who eats crow and eats it well. I was incorrect on my numbers at the last meeting as far as how much the income is per individual in Valdese, and I was quick to be corrected. My numbers were apparently from 2 years ago, so I don't have access to the newer numbers constantly. So, yeah, so it's good to know that that's going up. Unfortunately, it's not reflected in a lot of the people that I'm having to talk to, and that's all I hear. So I appreciate you giving the facts tonight. And I apologize to everyone that I misspoke. But
And my comment was not
no.
intended to correct you at all.
I
I
was
just
like,
was reading some information today, I thought I'd share it.
It depends on what website you look at.
Yeah,
Mr. Wood, I'm sure your figures and what we get from the LGC, I trust, but I could go on the website right now and find it where it says $32,000.
I found about 32,000 different amounts. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is too much.
So it's no big deal.
You really have to pay attention to your source, and that's, and I usually try to verify it from two
So the
different
LGC
locations.
is the one that is the most.
Well,
would you
mine came
consider-
from Department of Revenue.
Department, okay.
Yeah.
Alan, do you have any forecasts for population growth in Burke County? Because what I read from the LGC, some of those projections are really no growth for the population in Burke County over the next 20 years.
We have
Which is
shown,
surprising.
we have shown some growth over the last 2 to 3 years. Our constraint, and this is really, I believe, the constraint is we are not getting enough housing to support. To hit the numbers we need, this came from our COG, we need roughly 722 housing starts per year. The last 2 years, we've hit 440, give or take. So that supports 1% population growth. It takes 2% just to hold even with our labor force. And it's not hard if you start looking at the demographics. The places where we're increasing are the 55 and older. The places where we're losing are the 9 to 18. Surprisingly, there's a little bit of a bump in the 25 category. Can't explain that one, but we're happy to see it. So it's, we have to figure out a way to break this conundrum around the housing.
The one suggestion I would have is to draw a little bit on Research Travel Park. I spent 20 years there. I saw it go from, they had been there for about 20 years, but when I arrived, they were almost giving land away. They almost gave us land to come there. But the population growth there since the 1980s of that whole area, I mean, there's got to be a lot of numbers there that if you build it, they'll come.
That's why we've spent so much time working on the product development on the industrial side, because I know what is happening when you have those major, I have a friend who's a real estate developer in Stokes County, where Manager Steen and I worked for a while. They're getting ready to have 3,000 housing starts in that community, driven by Toyota on their site. And I mean, it's not all roses. There's always some issues with growth. But the bottom line is, if you are not seeing your population increasing, at some point in time in the future, you really pay for that, because you do not have the labor force you need to support the business and industry that you have in the community. If you can't support them, they're not going to stay. It's just, it's as simple as that. So finding land with infrastructure, big challenge. Scouring the community for that. what you look at. I have a group coming in next week. I'm looking for a spot to put them. And I mean, it is a struggle to find that. So they all go together. It's not gloom and doom. We've seen a big increase in the starts. We just need more. I do appreciate your time. I do appreciate your support. My number is on here. If you ever need to get in touch with me, that cell, if I'm not asleep, I answer it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Okay. Item B, Efficiency Task Force.
Good evening. The Efficiency Task Force is made up of 5 caring individuals that are just trying to do the best they can for the town. Steve Perry, Rick McClure, Gary Ogle, Councilman Ogle, Tim Page, and myself. We've been lucky to have Bo come to our meetings, which has been a big help to see what our numbers are and see some places that we might be able to improve over time. We've only had 3 meetings so far. The first one was an organizational meeting, and the second one, we talked a little bit more about personnel issues and so forth. So when we talk about efficiencies within a town or within a business or within a family, we're talking about the best use of the facilities, the human resources, and all the equipment that we may have within the town as well. So I won't talk a lot about the first 2 meetings. We do put our minutes out, and the meetings are public. If you want to come, you can come. And we want to thank Councilman Lohman for coming to our last meeting. I certainly enjoyed having you there, and your input was valuable. So everything is being done. We put the meeting notices out, I think, 10 days in advance. Is that right, Gary? So you'll know when we are going to meet, where we're going to meet, and so forth if you do want to attend. Let's talk a little bit about the one we had last week, because it was at the down at Public Works, and obviously that's one of our big areas of numbers of employees and so forth. So Mr. Hudson met with us, spent some time in his office talking to us about the many functions that his department does throughout the year. We questioned him a little bit about the broadband breaks in the water lines, and he said they've been working with him in a fairly efficient way, and we're trying to do their best. But if you go up and down some of our streets, you know that they've been impacted a lot. I mean, I think I've got 9 breaks between where I get off of Main Street to my home on Laurel Street. But hopefully those will be fixed, but I do worry that some of the patching will be as good as it ought to be. Councilman Ogle went through nearly all the capital improvement items, capital projects, and we looked at those as a committee. And one of them that was brought up was about the lift in the back in the shop there, and it does look like it could be a safety concern. So one thing we want to do as efficiency committee is that we want to save money where we can, and we want to be efficient where we can, but we also care a whole lot about our employees and about anyone's safety within the town. So after some discussion with Tim Page, who knows a lot more about lifts since he runs Alray Tire than any of the rest of us, we decided that he does probably need that lift, but we think he can get that lift for $20,000 rather than a $40,000. So it'd be our recommendation that we do approve that lift for the town public works area, but it'd be $20,000. We've heard recently one was purchased for $18,000, and so we'll try to do that, and I'm sure that Mr. Alan Hudson do the best he can to drive the best bargain to get us one for under $20,000. We also had a discussion about the roll-off, and I'm sure he's probably here. Is Alan here? Somewhere he's here. Yeah. There he is. He could explain more about that, but right now we take a big roll-off to someone's home, and they're gonna clear out their entire property or whatever. We're charging them $75. Well, we feel like we need the roll-off, but we should charge more, because as another one of our members brought up, you know, if the town is gonna take over functions that a private business is willing to do, and undercut them by half or maybe three times as cheap, that's really not the business we should be in. So at the end of my talk here, I'll talk about what we've proposed on that. We also talked a little bit about the town working more with the Department of Transportation on road paving. We believe as a committee that working with them, we could drive a better bargain on the cost of the paving and also eliminate the need for having a separate engineering contractor. So I think last year when we paved some roads, we paid, what was it, Alan, $40,000 or $25,000 to McGill, I think, $40-something thousand. So it's taken up about 1/10 of our budget when we start paving if we do have to use engineering services. If we could get the DOT to do it, then we'll be able to pave 10% more than we thought we were gonna pave each year when we do that. And from the committee meetings we've had, from the input from our strategic planning, we all know everybody cares about our roads and we want them to get better. And if you can get 10% more, that's a good thing. So I encourage Alan to continue to look into that, work with whoever you have to at DOT in an expeditious manner to try to accomplish this. We went out to what we call the yard and looked at a lot of equipment, and boy, do we have a lot of equipment. I mean, we got a lot of equipment. So here's the thing. It takes a little bit more than just walking out there a time or two to decide what all we need and what we don't need. Because you may look and say, well, it looked like you got 6 snow plows and you hadn't used one in 2 years, let's get rid of them. But I think it's kind of like if you wash your car, it's going to rain the next day or something. So we're not at this point recommending getting rid of any snow plows or much of anything else until we have more study. To really know how much the stuff's being utilized, we're going to have to do an in-depth study into that. So you could take the situation that Councilmember Ogle was there, Rexana was there, I was there, all the people were there, and we could anecdotally say, in 2 hours, we did not see one piece of equipment move. Let's get rid of all of it. But obviously, that's not the right thing to do. Sometimes we might need every piece of equipment. So we don't know yet what all we want to talk about. Maybe that it's too much, or maybe we'll be looking as an efficiency committee that we need things that we don't have. But we do seem to have a lot of equipment. There's 3 mini excavators. I don't want to bore you with what all we have, but it's a lot, all I can say. I think we will, though, recommend at this time to look into that gigantic cat loader that you have that I think is your least used piece of equipment, and it takes up the most amount of space. But we need to have Alan Hudson do check on what the value of that would bring, and then the council and the town manager could decide, what is the cost benefit of selling this piece of equipment versus the limited use it gets. So from a committee recommendation, we were just saying we ought to do an analysis of what we could get for it, and is it worth keeping for y'all to decide. We also agreed on a couple other recommendations from the efficiency committee. We recommend, based on research that we've done, that a 4% cost of living increase go to all the town employees. To enable to keep town employees, we need to give them raises, cost of living increases as time goes on. We talked about 5% being a little more than anybody else we know in the area getting, and that 3% was not enough. So our recommendation to the council is a 4% increase this year to all town employees. We also recommend no replacement of the water resource director until a new town manager has been appointed. We feel as though all of us are people that are in business, except for Gary, and that we feel like a new town manager, he or she will want to build their own team and hire the people they know they can work with best, if that job even needs to be replaced. During our first meeting, we spent some time looking at the town hall structure itself. Went around the building, the exterior, and looked at it. We feel like the town hall is grossly underutilized as a building. About 11,000 square feet, whatever it is, and there's on most days 8 people here, sometimes less. We defer to the facilities committees regarding how this nice space can be used in a more efficient manner. But it is clear that the small amount of people in this building does not warrant a building of this size. It's also very hard to heat and cool this building, as Bo mentioned, because most of the hot air just goes up in the atrium, and so this building's not terribly efficient. We also recommend that the council work with the new town manager to create a written policy regarding the use of town-owned vehicles with regards to their personal use. We also recommend that the town has a lot of property for sale, but there's no promotion of the property. So if you rode through our town, you wouldn't know what the town owns that could be used for something else or could be sold to someone that would in turn have to pay property taxes. So we feel as though if anyone else was selling some property, they would have a real estate agent or someone promoting that property sale. So that's one of our recommendations as well, that we would promote the things that we have for sale to try to actually move them. And I look forward to working with our committee members further. There's a lot more that we can look into, and I really have to thank all the town employees that have been so gracious to show us around their area, and to Bo and to our interim town manager for attending some of the meetings and being as helpful as possible. So thank you so much, and if you want to come to the meeting, you're more than welcome to come.
Can we ask a question?
Questions, yeah.
Probably won't answer it, but
You mentioned one item, the employee use of vehicles. Would you elaborate on that? What is that all about?
well, we know that some people, use their vehicle to travel back and forth from home. We do know that.
How many is that?
I think it's only 3, was my understanding. And I don't look at this as, this is something too, we have to look into where citizens will call us and tell us about an issue, and then we delve into that issue and may find that it's not very large in nature, but it's really bothers people, to see these vehicles somewhere else. And in the scheme of things, it may be necessary as a recruitment tool, or they may have to come back on call, et cetera, but we just think that it could be, buttoned down in a more concise manner to where everyone would know what the rule is. Now, the way I understand it, they're paying, I think, a couple individuals are paying like $3 a day to use their vehicle to go back and forth. Now, in my experience in business, I got banged on my W-2 for like, $900 a month for using a vehicle. So it wasn't $3 a day that I could use it. But there again, we didn't get into all the specifics, and it's not a really big thing, but it's something that people in the town notice, because they'll call you and say, hey, this person uses this vehicle, and I don't think it's right. So it's one of those things that's a perception problem. And if you don't have a policy around it, it could become more than a perception problem. It could become a real issue. But we did speak a little bit about the officers taking their police cars home, and the efficiency committee is 100% behind that idea. We think it's a terrific idea. We think wherever that vehicle is parked, people are going to slow down if they see it. There's going to be less crime. It's definitely a deterrent. So in the case of police vehicles, we'd rather the employees, the officers, take that car home than not. And it's just not about the money there. It's about deterring crime in our estimation.
Eddie, could you explain to our citizens about gov deals, that if we do sell town equipment, we can't just up and sell it? There's a process.
Yeah, you have to go through there. And of course, most of our vehicles also are being obtained through a government contract as well. And so those are the things we have to do. And that's why I say we're not just ready yet to determine that we don't need, this or that, because we don't know how much it's gonna bring selling it through that program. But one thing I didn't really get to ask Alan about, and maybe you can answer it now, you know, a lot of people have to log in every hour that a vehicle's used, or a track hoe or whatever, you know. Is there a log of how much things are being used currently or not?
No, we just have to work order log.
Yeah. So that's how, you know, most businesses would look at something and say, well, we're only using it this many hours. So it's a whole lot better for us to rent this, you know, than it is to own it. But, I mean, I think that you're gonna see more and more people are doing things where they say, the town expertise is not doing this job or that job, and hiring people to do some of those things, or looking at contracting them. One of them that's brought up from citizens to me all the time is that we probably have 20 different people in town that have a yard service. So why don't we let them do it? You know, what if we bid it out to them? You know, we could do that, and it gets people in our town having a business, that they have more business. You know, so those are the things that take a while to look into. You know, you have to do an analysis on how much time does that fella spend mowing. If he's not mowing, is he putting up Christmas lights? You know, it's just really a lot easier to say, let's get rid of some people, you know, or let's add some people, than to really delve into it and see what is the most efficient use of our tax dollars. Because I think that's what everybody's after here on these committees, is to just make the government function a little better if possible. And certainly businesses, small and large, all across America, have people coming in all the time to say, what could I do just a little bit better? Because I've been doing it this way all the time. And sometimes it's a paradigm shift for them to do it just a little bit differently.
Eddie, did the efficiency committee, did you look at the difference between a 4% and 5% pay increase? Was that something that was considered? I know that retention of employees is one of our objectives. I didn't know if that was, if you looked at the actual dollar amount between 4 and 5.
We did. I can't recall it in my head right now, but just a lot of people, our committee members saying, you know, they're in business, and they said what they were given, in every single case it was less. You know, I know mine was 3.2 this year. Another individual on the committee gave his employees 3%. And, you know, and the other thing that comes up sometimes in these discussions is that if you go to a private business, you're not going to be able to retire in 20 years or 30 years. And they're not going to put 15 cents on every dollar that we give to an employee into a retirement program, because most of our local industries here have no pension whatsoever. And so all that you can have is whatever you save.
There's a related thing that does very seldom, at least in these meetings, gets discussed about employee retention. There are a couple things about employee retention that you find in the private industry. One of the factors is how much you pay. I mean, there's always competitive pay. The other one is, what kind of training do you do? And what kind of environment do you provide for the employees? And one of the big gaps in this town that I find when I look back through the budgets is I don't see hardly anything spent on training. You know, on efficiency training, on customer service, on individual development, organizational development. We've been doing no training in that area. So I have a feeling that if you give employees a choice, they're gonna always take more pay, probably, but when it comes to hiring people, they might be interested in what kind of training opportunities and what kind of advancement do we have. We hire somebody, put them in a position for 5 years and never give them training to help them move on to a higher grade job or to another place.
I think, you know, we vote on most things before, we're gonna vote on things before we bring them to council. But I can just about tell you without voting on it, and I'm pretty sure Gary would agree with me here, the others are not here. If you were to say, would you make a different recommendation to the council? Would you say 4% cost of living increase and 1 or 2% in training? I bet it would go through my committee, just, they'd say yes. I mean, we're definitely not against that. We think it's important, and to your point, every businessman knows if they've gone to business school, that look at a Maslow chart of needs. I'm sure Mr. Mears knows all about it. He could probably teach it. But people say that money is the real problem, but really it's feeling like you're part of a team. It's feeling like you're being successful. It's feeling like you're being respected in your work. And all those things are really, when it comes down to it, more important than just money. If you ask people, it's easy for them to say money, because it's a lot harder to talk about, I don't like the way you talk to me. You're not a nice boss. I don't like my fellow employees. It's a lot easier to say, I'm not making enough money, I'm quitting, you know.
One of the things that we need to look at as employer is the development of a career ladder. That a lot of our departments could use a career ladder for that advancement purposes. And one more thing I'm going to touch on the 5% increase or 4% increase. We have 71 full-time employees. 24 of those employees earn less than $40,000 annually. Something to keep in the back of your mind.
I've talked to both sides this week, and I'm not going against anything or for anything, so please don't come at me this week. I'm really asking questions. Does that include insurance in those amounts that are being made? If somebody says they make $37,000, does that include what we pay for their insurance also? So on top of that is insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was one thing that was really bothering me, because when I was getting calls and I was hearing people, I was going, dear God, if they're paying that much, you know, like my husband's having to pay for insurance every month, I was going, there's no way they can, you know, I mean, I'm not saying a lot. I've looked over everybody's numbers. I have paid attention. Yeah, there are some that do definitely need to be looked at, but I wanted to make sure their insurance was being covered by the town.
Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers here, but I consult with companies that pay employees that they give them as little as nothing, and 1099, I'm like, oh, all the work that I do, you get zero. I worked with a company recently, for every dollar they pay, 48 cents goes to other things. So, you know, we're within that spectrum of what all you give to employees. But anytime you give a person a cost of living increase, everything goes up. You know, every part of that goes up. The employees here have outstanding, you know, insurance in comparison to most of the private sector. I mean, we have guys on my committee that have employees and they have no benefits. They pay them, and it's up to them to get their own benefits, you know. So it's a tough one.
Those are
We
questions
need to
I've
be
been kinda
competitive.
curious about. I was just wondering. Sorry.
I hear the argument too that, well, town employees don't seem to make as much as they do in the private sector. You know, I hear that some too. And there are reasons for that too. You know, I work 21 Sundays and 24 Thanksgivings in a row, you know, and so depending on what people put in, some of these jobs are really hard. If anybody's ever worked at MDI, I hate to tell you, there's no employee no one here doing what they're doing. You load 55 trucks a night, and you probably would get paid a little bit more than what a town employee's doing. That's just the way it is.
Eddie, did you talk to any of our department heads? I'm just concerned about law enforcement and places that we really need to retain our employees. Was any of that discussed when you're talking about the difference between a 4% and 5% salary increase?
We didn't take those departments into consideration, and I hope, from everything I'm hearing, that our police force is going to be there's not going to be the amount of turnover we used to have. Based on everything I can tell, I don't think we're going to have the turnover we've been having.
I would ask Officer Sharp. Police Chief Sharp. Mm-hmm.
Well, on that one, there's another, again, another related issue here. That it's been now, I think, maybe 6 years since the town did an in-depth comparable pay study. I think it was done before our present HR director, and she's been here longer than any of us. So, but, I mean, that's another big need that the town has. I mean, we need to find out how these jobs compare one with another, and how they compare not only within this organization, but with industry and other towns around where their alternate works are. So there's, I mean, this thing about keeping employees is a multifaceted issue, and probably goes beyond the efficiency task force, quite frankly, although they're tremendously capable, but we need some outside consulting, we need a lot.
We just don't think that most people in Burke County are getting a 5% increase this year. We just don't. I mean, we talked and we talked and we talked. We just didn't find those people, so.
Eddie, thank you for your report.
Right.
Thank you so
I
much.
want to touch on one more thing. Equipment. I don't want our citizens to go away thinking we've got all kinds of equipment. So I got an inventory from the city of Morganton, and I'm looking at theirs and I'm looking at ours. And real quick, and I'm gonna name just a few. Backhoes, they've got 3, we've got 1. Dump trucks, dump vehicles, they've got 21, we've got 4. Tractors, they've got 10, we've got 4. Bobcats, they've got 2, we have none. And I had to sit down on this one. Mowers, they have 34, we got 7. And then gators or UTVs, they've got 13, we've got 3. And golf carts, they got 10, we got 1. So just trying to compare apples to apples.
Yeah, but the apples are not apples to apples because they're about 5 times bigger than we are.
Well, that's
Okay.
one of my points,
Yeah,
thank you.
5 times bigger, and have a lot more land area, and there's a lot more I could say, but that's it. But I don't really, what you're calling those things is not what some of our committee members call them. So what do you call those 3 mini excavators? Do you call them a track hoe, or do you call them a mini excavator?
Track hoes, mini excavators, that's the way they're listed on them.
And how many do they have, track hoes? Because I was told 3 and we had 3.
3. They
And we
got
have 3.
We got 3.
Okay.
Yeah. But then they've got skid steers and all this other stuff. We need to look at apples to apples, is my point. Okay, next item, C, Drug and Homeless Task Force, Chief.
Evening, council members, mayor, city manager, and citizens. I think it's important to take a moment. I just wanted to say thank you, Mayor Watts, for taking a moment out of your time and giving a moment of silence to a fellow officer. I know in speaking with you and the city manager, you know what it's like to lose someone you've worked with. It's happened to me 6 times in my time period being in law enforcement, and it's not something that's taken lightly. We did well, though. The town of Valdese was represented in Charlotte as I sent 2 of my officers fully dressed to take part in their services this past week and pay our respects. So the town of Valdese was included in those events.
Thank you for that.
Now, to move on to what we're here to talk about. I guess the first day that I started as police chief, I think it was the first day I attended a homeless and drug task force meeting. And it was the original inception, the first meeting that had ever occurred. In that meeting, we had a lot of conversations about, spirited conversations about what defined homelessness, how do we address it, how do we address the drug problem, and we were really kind of all over the place. And there's 5 or 6 individuals on the task force that are from all facets of life, which I think is interesting, and you get a good sample of thought process in that. But you can't address one of these problems without getting your information and doing it intelligently. And so I think we've done that. By the second meeting, the first meeting we were talking about, well, we need a mental health professional. Well, we need someone with Veterans Affairs. Well, we need somebody that's in AA. Well, we need somebody that's in NA. And as you can see, as you start to talk about this problem, it's so multifaceted. You start talking about, well, why is someone homeless? Try to answer that question. What you probably don't know is since COVID, the homeless population has increased by 50%. It's doubled, and that's nationwide. And it hasn't really decreased. So there's definitely a problem there that needs to be addressed. And so I thought we'd do it intelligently. So one of the things that we did is we've contacted the Western Piedmont Council of Governments that has a homeless response team. The great thing about this is we're going to utilize them with our police department to address the homeless problem here in Valdese because they have resources and it costs us nothing. The task force or the homeless response team that is part of what's called the COG has been awarded $4.2 million in federal funds to deal with the homeless problem. And that's for a 4-county area consisting of Alexander, Burke, Catawba, and Caldwell. I think we need to get our piece of the pie, so to speak, to deal with that problem. And so what we're doing is, as we're sitting here talking tonight, 2 COG members are riding with my fellow officers. They're identifying the homeless. They're attempting to find out why they're homeless and collect data to solve the source of the problem. What we found out in this is there's really no data that's ever been collected on why people are homeless. And some of the questions that I rose when we started talking here today were the very questions that they said. And I rose in a meeting and said, well, why are people homeless? And they said, we don't know. No data has ever been collected on it. So what the COG is doing is they're going out, talking to the homeless, trying to find out why they're where they are and providing solutions to the real problem. If the problem is drugs, do we get them in rehabs? Do we use those funds to get them in rehabs? If the problem is they're down on their luck, the COG has housing availability and they can take these people in and put them in housing. If it's a veterans problem, they have something we can go through Veterans Affairs. Alcohol, we can deal with that. Mental health, they have a mental health counselor on staff with the response team. He's out there tonight riding with my officers. And the only part we play in this is my officers initiate the contact. We are doing community policing. We are involved in the community. We are forming bonds. And my officers know who these people are. So they're going to go out, initiate the contact, produce a conversation where these people talk to the COG members, and maybe we can identify the source of the problem and deal with it, rather than making it a law enforcement problem where we simply arrest them for trespassing, arrest them for larceny, put them in jail, and really contribute more to their problem. Not that they didn't deserve to get what they got, but being down on your luck and not being able to afford medication or something that you went into a business and stole, and now you're in jail and you have to come up with more money to fight the existing problem. I really don't know that we're completely dealing with the root of the problem. But in the same breath, we don't want to become a magnet where we provide resources for every homeless person in the state of North Carolina. So there's a lot of things to be looked at. I think if we address this problem intelligently, we collect this data from the COG, and we address some of the root of the problem, we may solve more of it than you realize. Last meeting, I gave out a handout with information about the COG, kind of a multifaceted response to what we're dealing with. If anybody didn't get that, I brought extra copies tonight if you want to read it. If you have read it, thank you, but I think we're well on our way to addressing some of this issue intelligently and the proper way.
I agree. Council, questions?
I'm really excited to be working with the Council of Governments on this, to hear them talk, Ben, and it's really funny because Chastity and me have been friends on Facebook for forever, and she didn't tell me she was involved really until she just said, I didn't want to let you know everything until that night. But when she started telling me all the things the COG has in their building where they bring them in and they can deal with this, it was really a tremendous program they have and that they're trying to start. It's the first of its kind from what I understand, so we're actually getting to take part of something that's like a first of its kind, probably I know in our state, and maybe the second in the nation, outside of Tallahassee, I think, did something like this. So it's a really great program.
Well, all problems are finding your resources and developing partnerships to deal with them.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing,
Thank you.
right?
Chief Sharp, what about, is there a correlation between homelessness and drugs?
Sure,
Have
but
you-
it's one of the many. It's one of the many, and that's what is interesting. That's what they're out there finding out right now. Because yeah, there's some homeless people because of drugs, but there's also homeless people because they're a misplaced veteran. There's homeless people because they ran out of gas in Valdese and they've never left. There's homeless people because they're down on their luck. There's homeless people because they're alcoholics. There's homeless people because they want to be homeless. So it's as crazy as that sounds, it's true. So you can't just say, well, if we solve the drug problem, we'll solve the homeless problem. Y'all, we've been fighting a drug problem for years. We don't have an answer for that one either. But we got to continue to try, think outside the box, and see what we can do about them. But the police can't solve all of them. We need additional resources. So this is a resource that doesn't cost us anything. It's just a partnership. Get out and help us. Roll up your sleeves and get to work. And that's what we're doing. So hopefully we can do something to address the issue. And I think the great thing about this is we'll also get an accurate number on just how many homeless people are in Valdese.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next
Because
question.
that's an interesting
You have
thing.
any idea?
My police officers did what they called a head count, and we identified about 16. If that is accurate, that's high for a town our size. But the COG gives definition and criteria to what identifies you as homeless, and I think that will give us a more accurate count to what they actually call a pit count, which is a point in time count that deals with how many homeless we have at a point in time. So I think we'll get the information we need to really address the problem more so than we've ever had before.
Could I ask, Chief?
Sure.
Is there a relationship between the drug problem and crime?
Certainly.
Well, you know, we've come a long ways. About 7 or 8 months ago, we had declarations from this town council that Valdese doesn't have a drug problem, Valdese doesn't have a crime problem. And
All towns have a drug problem.
absolutely.
Councilman. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, D, Facilities Review Committee.
On your boat, this right here. There it is. Just a little mower right there. Good afternoon, Mayor and Town Council. My name's Roger Hevener. I'm working with the Facilities Review Committee along with Greg Reefor. We're the co-chairs, and we'd like to make a little presentation. First thing you know, we have a committee. They're all right here with us. The stuff we review, they have a lot of options, status of operations, our recommendations, the architect and the scope of work, building options, and the site options. The 5 members are Tessa Collison, Jerry Hyde, myself, Greg Reefor, Glenn Harvey. We collectively have more than 150 years of construction and facility management experience between us. We reviewed hundreds of pages of items, concerning the public service building and the proposed new one, and we went through 2018 and 2022 designs and plans. We went through council minutes, staff and architect emails, cost estimates, and dollars spent. At this time, I'll turn it over to Jerry Hyde.
We have reviewed, over the last several meetings, we reviewed over eight architectural firms. And we ended up interviewing 3. And the Facilities Review Committee recommends that council consider the approval of contract for the architectural firm of Talley and Smith to perform the phase 1 of the public safety building project. That cost will be $32,000. And we recommend this firm due to their experience with this type of project, as well as the work that they have done with this size of municipality.
Okay, can I ask a question? Jerry, does this mean that y'all have decided on one of these 3 options?
No.
Okay.
All we are doing, all we
That's what I
have
need.
done, or we are doing now, is making a recommendation from the committee to council to consider approval of our findings that Talley and Smith would be the best firm to do this.
To go through
phase
those
1.
3 options?
Yes.
They will go through the 3
That's
options?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
The 3 options we looked at were, a total renovation of the existing facility. And then also a total new facility that housed both departments, both the fire department and the police department. And then we also looked at the separation of the 2 departments, which involves additional properties, or it'd be a larger project, in my opinion. But
Okay.
that's what, but the recommendation to council is that you guys consider our due diligence to recommend this firm, Talley and Smith, for the services for the public safety building.
Okay, so they would make recommendations
They will
back to
do
your,
they will go back through and do
Gotcha.
the fact finding, do all
Okay.
of the resources, do the question and answer sessions with the facilities, with the guys that are gonna be occupying it, and develop a plan, that will be brought to the council for approval. I mean, this is just a fact finding, mission.
gotcha.
And I think that the firm of Talley and Smith is probably the best choice that we might have.
What was the cost of that?
It was $32,000.
And Jerry, they originally worked with the previous councils, right, on this issue? We've worked with them before, so it makes sense.
Yes, they
It
have
makes
been
sense if they look
involved.
at this, okay.
They have been involved in, you know, we reviewed their findings
Yeah.
along with the other findings that were in a notebook, a 3-inch notebook. But they seem to come across as, and from a personal standpoint, I have dealt with these folks before. I have dealt with other people who have had experience with them on a similar facility. They have done an outstanding job as far as the phase 1 stuff, as well as the construction administration during the project.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jerry, I'd like to say also, you know, when I look at the Facilities Review Committee, the Drug and Homeless Committee, the Efficiency Committee, they can't do anything alone. They are recommending to council, and that's what you have said you are doing.
That is correct.
And that's something that I really appreciate all these committees taking their time to do. Hopefully, we're doing it in the right way.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. So there is a new opportunity that we would like to present as a committee. Alba Headquarters Building on St. Germain Street, which is opposite the Town Hall. The lot south of it, which is 200 Marcel Avenue, is for sale. When comparing the preliminary schematics, it confirms the former 24 square feet, which is 9.2 million building, would fit into this space, as you can see here with the diagram. Therefore, the committee recommends the purchase of 200 Marcel Avenue. The advantage would be the administration of the police and fire department would be on the same block and all accessible and near Main Street. There would also be the short and the long-term savings with regards to the site preparation costs, maintenance costs, forever compared to 1 acre versus 14 acres. And that simplifies the A&E analysis options.
Where to from here? Tally Smith is going to look at the police department and fire department to make sure our employees are safe. Then preliminary design and estimates, they will provide us with a total renovation, a total new facility, which would be on the 200 property, and then separate the police department from the fire department. That option would mean that we discussed bringing the police department in the town hall and just have a separate fire department. But all entities would be right here on 2 blocks. Option 2, design combined police and fire department versus the previous 24,000 square foot building at a cost of $9.2 million. And then the separation of the two together. The old town hall is 3,500 square feet, 7 administrative employees, still providing all the utilities. The new town hall is 5,660 square feet, which we still owe $2.4 million with 7 administrative people. In a comparison, I think Glenn and Roger went to Shelby to look at this new unit. It was 11,500 square feet at a cost of 2.7. Recommendations 3, that we place the
property on 800 Pine Bar Avenue up for sale. It would not be needed by the town if we acquire the new property. Use proceeds for the public safety building, put 14.9 acres back on the tax roll, promote it for economic development. A, for a housing for, affordable housing or job creating benefits.
Okay, with our schedule ahead, you know, we're hopefully get the contract approval tonight for the A&E contractor and, you know, consider the safety, the staff for safety and estimate 3 options. So that's what we're looking ahead for us. And I'd like to give the opportunity to thank the committee here for all the work they've done and consideration for the town council and the mayor. So anybody have any questions for us? Thank you.
Council? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, E, consideration of approval of contract for architectural firm for public safety building. And you've heard the presentation. So,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the contract for the architectural firm for the public safety building. And that's it, that we approve that we approve the contract for the architectural firm for the public safety building as recommended.
okay, second.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, further discussion or questions?
Yeah, the only comment I would make in discussion is that the contract has been reviewed by the town attorney. It's been returned to the architectural engineering firm, and like all the contracts that the town approves, it will be finalized by the town attorney and the town manager, preparing it for the mayor's signature.
Okay, anyone else? Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, seeing none opposed, motion carries. Madam Clerk. Okay, thank you. Item F, consideration of making offer to acquire 200 Massell Avenue as presented by the Facilities Review Committee.
Mr. Mayor, was excited to hear that the 200 Massell Avenue property had become available in the last couple months. The town has gotten very serious about this property in the last week, and I would like to make a motion at this time that we approve the contract. Wait a minute, let me look.
Okay, let me do this, please. The motion is to authorize the manager to enter into an agreement on behalf of the town of Valdese with Valdese Mills LLC for the purchase of 200 Massell Avenue Southwest. And that's for $400,000. That's the motion.
Yes, and I'd like to make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, Madam Clerk, motion carries. Okay, thank you, Council. Item G, consideration of listing agreement for 800 Pine Bar Avenue as presented by the Facilities Committee. And the motion is, will be to approve exclusive buyer agency agreement with Broadpoint Real Estate Group.
So moved.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
Okay, questions and discussion? I have a question. Who is Broadpoint Real Estate Group?
That was formerly Stockton, I believe, Realty. Tom Johnson is now with this new firm.
Okay.
And we need to catch up with you on one thing, Bo.
Okay, so this wasn't on the agenda, but because of this purchase of the property, we gotta do a project ordinance amendment for that, so we can actually spend the money. So it wasn't in the agenda packet, something I threw together just before the meeting here. But this is a budget, or it's a project ordinance amendment for Fund 35, which is where our public safety monies are. So this, we already got the money in there, so this isn't turning town, fund balance, but this is money, the 1.4 million that was in, or at $1.5 million. So this is just authorizing us to spend that money on the property itself, just moving the money. The money's already there, I just don't have a legal way to spend it. So that's what this is doing.
Okay, before council, we do this, I've already got a motion and a second. Let me get back here. To consider the sale of 800 Palmer Avenue, I've got a motion, got a second.
I've got a question. How do we, if we're gonna sell this property, who's going to put a value? Who are we gonna enter into an agreement with to value this property? How did we come up with the value with the realtor that's offering to sell this? I mean, I'd really like to, I wanna make sure if the town sells this property that we get a fair value for what we have.
Not just tax value.
Absolutely.
May I address that? The realtor who has offered this listing agreement has taken a close look at that property and the area around it. It's also the same realtor who has the Massel Avenue property listed. So you might say he was helpful in bringing that property to us. The Massel Avenue property was on the market for $975,000. They dropped their listing price, never advertised it, but they dropped it to $550,000, and the manager submitted an offer with council's concurrence, and they came back with the $400,000. So the broker obviously was involved in those discussions and was helpful. He has looked at the the town's inventory of properties that it's not using. He took a hard look at the 800 Pineborough Southeast property. His recommendation is that we list it for $495. It's presently on the tax, Burke County tax value at a small amount, about 167, something like that. Previously, before this last reassessment, it was on at 330 something. So the county didn't help the town in this case. The county, with their reassessment, generated a lot more revenue for the town, but not in the case of this lot. But nonetheless, this realtor that's where he wants to market it. He'll work as hard as he can, as realtors always do, to get the highest possible price. And it doesn't matter what he comes back with. It's gonna be up to the council to decide whether to accept it. And that acceptance will just put it into the upset bidding process like we do with all these other properties. So it's gonna be a several step process. It might take 6 months, it might take 2 years to sell it. But the other thing about that property that many people don't realize is the town has absolutely zero invested in it. Because of some transactions that took place earlier, and whatever the town receives from the sale, the council's pretty much indicated that's gonna go into this public safety building account. So if it goes well, we'll get enough back to pay for this Massel Avenue property, if that helps. Oh, by the way, the broker, we had this little presentation by Alan Wood. The broker, Tom Johnson, who is working on this property, was in the same position as Alan Wood, I think a couple back.
Been the early 2000s somewhere.
So, no, he's been around, and pretty much knows the marketplace.
Council has agreed, has council looked at this to determine that this is an appropriate step for the town?
As far as the listing agreement?
Listing agreement?
Yeah, so the town does have authority. There is a case, it's a pretty old case, but it does authorize the town to enter into a listing agreement for its property, so.
And that still requires us to go through the upset bid process, so,
That's right.
we're going the right way.
Any further questions? I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor of placing 800 Pine Bur Avenue on the market signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, Madam Clerk, motion carries. Mr. Weichel, do you need to add this budget amendment to the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Okay, council, I need a motion to add the budget amendment for 200 Maxwell Avenue to the agenda, please.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying yes, raise your right hand.
Yes.
Okay, none opposed, motion carries. Mr. Weichel.
Very good, thank you.
Let's, Bo, if you don't mind, we'll take a 5-minute break, please. Okay. Yeah. Budget amendment next. Okay, let's get started back. Mr. Weichel, if you will address the budget amendment for Maxwell Avenue, please.
All right, so this will be Project Ordinance Amendment 11-35 to purchase the 200 Basel Avenue Southwest. So again, this is not new funds. The funds are already in the account. This is just placing them where we can spend them on property.
Okay, council, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second, please.
Second.
1 second, council.
and I'll double check. Madam Clerk, we've already made the motion and voted to approve amend the agenda. We've already done that. Thank you for checking on that. You keep me out of jail.
I'll miss that.
Okay. Let's go back up. Do I have a motion to approve the budget amendment?
We do, yes.
Okay, and a second. All those in favor signify by saying yes or raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, Madam Clerk, motion carries. Thank you, Bo.
Thank you.
We're getting better at this. Okay, next, item H, consideration of resolution to oppose the City of Charlotte interbasin transfer request. Mr. Paget, sir.
Mayor and council, good evening. Tonight, we're asking you to adopt a resolution to oppose, exactly what Charlie said, or the mayor said, to oppose the City of Charlotte is requesting additional millions per gallon, 33 million gallons per day for transfer. So that will give them a total of 63 million. You have in your packet some talking points from the Western Piedmont Council of Government. At this time, I think most of us in the region are adopting either the same resolution or something similar to it. And we're just asking you to adopt this as an opposition. We are strongly opposed to giving Charlotte any more allocation of these resources, Catawba River. They do have other options. We're not keyholing them. They have another river system on the east side that they could tap into. It's going to cost them money. That is the cost of doing business. We need to be careful with this resource. The river only has X amount of gallons in it. The state decides how it's divided. Once it's all divided up, there is no more. We don't want to turn out to be like the western states. The Californias and the Nevadas and fighting over water.
This is a problem that is not going to go away with the development of Charlotte, that area.
Correct. Their
pressure's going to continue to be there.
Correct. Their modeling had said, and I don't recall the dates, they had projected that they would have water until 2035. Now they're saying sooner they're going to run out. But again, they have other options, including conservation. That is not this council's problem. That is not the upper chain's problem. That's not the lower chain's problem. They need to figure out their own problem without taking our resource, our potential resource.
Okay. Any further questions?
I read in the reading material that somebody needs to go down and speak to them. It's not just passing this resolution.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I am planning to be there. It's Wednesday, as Ms. Ward is planning to be there, and also Mr. Watts is going to be there.
Good.
Anybody else is welcome that wishes to be there as well. The first one's in Hickory, Wednesday night.
Senator Daniel had recommended that we do have, and I think I heard that possibly the mayor will be speaking on our behalf. But it is a big thing. Burke County has written up a resolution, Morganton, Marion, so we're just gonna hop on right with them.
Correct.
And first we need to pass the resolution.
Okay, the motion I need is to approve the resolution to oppose the City of Charlotte interbasin transfer request. I need a motion and a second.
So move.
Second.
Further questions? Those in favor signify by saying yes, raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Madam Clerk. Thank you, council. Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
Okay, item I, backing up. Consideration of resolution of tentative award of bid for Klein Pump Station upgrades.
Mayor and council, what we're coming with you tonight is a resolution to award the bid to, make sure I get their name right, Carolina Grading and Utilities Incorporated. As I spoke in the pre-meeting, we had three responsible bidders, and this was the low bidder and we wish to award them bid an amount of $1,241,190. Their bid, actually, you do have the certified bid sheet. The bid did come in a little higher than that. We actually took a small part of the project out to save money, not a lot, but we did take a small part out. And also, we are continuing to negotiate with them for any additional savings. Not promising any, but if we get any, they'll get passed on, of course.
Questions, council?
Mr. Mayor, we have already approved this Klein Pump Station. Is that correct? Haven't we approved in going ahead and doing that?
What has been approved is we've received the funds. letter
But
of
we did
intent to
go
fund.
ahead and approve to do this.
Yes, this
And
would
what
be
you're-
to award the bid for this contractor to do the project.
Okay.
Okay. Council, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution of tentative award of bid for Klein Pump Station upgrades.
So move.
Second, please.
Second.
Further questions? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying yes, raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Rick.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, next item J, consideration of approval of contract for architectural and engineering services for permanent pool structure. Mr. Anderson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pleasure to be with you this evening. I do want to use a quick prerogative moment to say thank you to our pilot club members for the presentation of that AED for our splash pad. We do use it frequently, and we are grateful to have that. Now, to the contract being discussed, just kind of running through our timeline here. Back in March, the council allowed us to release the RFQ. We received 6 submittals from responsible firms, narrowed that down to 3 firms for interview by myself, our aquatics and fitness director, Alex Bussell, Chip Stallings, a member of our Parks and Recreation Commission, and Scott Compton, the chair of our Parks and Recreation Commission. Ultimately, we decided on the firm of Michael Graves. It's a firm based out of Winston-Salem. The contract would be for design, construction documents, and bidding, as well as construction admin. And we have been working with Mr. Swanson as well to make sure the contract is up to snuff for us here in town. And it's our recommendation as staff and as that review committee to award this contract to Michael Graves.
Okay. Council, questions? Okay. I ask for a motion to approve the contract for architectural and engineering services for permanent pool structure.
I so move.
Second. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item K, consideration of approval of Rock School renovations Phase 2, approval of resolution application for North Carolina Department of Commerce Rural Downtown Economic Development Grant Program. Ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So as I mentioned at the pre-agenda meeting, there's quite a few items for us to move forward with the Phase 2 portion of the renovation project. We did receive a grant from the RDED grant program in the amount of $487,500. So for your consideration, first is a resolution for us to go into an agreement with that, with the Department of Commerce receiving those funds in the amount of the $487,500.
Okay. Questions, council?
Just one question. We got a long list of documents here that we're gonna approve all in one motion, assumedly.
Well, it'll actually be all, I think, all different.
They're gonna be all separate ones?
Each one's
Okay. Could you just wrap it all up and tell us this additional $400 and some thousand that you got, what's that gonna do to the old rock school? Can you just tick off what these major
Absolutely.
items are?
Absolutely. What it will do is replace the interior fire doors that are from the original 86 renovation. So throughout the building, those will be upgraded with proper hardware, which will improve our fire safety. We will also be refinishing the hardwood floors, the downstairs walled in room floors, the concrete floors, removing trip hazards, which helps improve ADA accessibility, and then also replacing all the fan cool units in the second floor of the building. They look similar to like little radiators, for lack of a better way to explain it. But many of those, they're just beyond repair. We're piecing them together, and so it'll improve efficiency. So this is really, Phase 2 will just extend what we're doing from Phase 1 to reach farther out within the building.
Okay. Any further, council? Okay. I ask for a motion to approve the resolution application for the North Carolina Department of Commerce Rural Downtown Economic Development Grant Program.
Make that motion.
Second, please.
Second.
Further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
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 Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Okay. Item K2, resolution exempting architect services for 400 Main Street West, the Old Rock School. I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution exempting the architect services for 400 Main Street West.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Item K3, consideration of AIA document B101, standard form of agreement between owner, the town of Valdese, and architect Greenberg Faro Architecture Incorporated. My motion will read as motion to approve AIA document B101, standard form of agreement between the owner, town of Valdese, and architect Greenberg Faro Architecture Incorporated. Need a motion.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Okay, item K5, capital project ordinance.
Oh, we have to do.
Yeah, need
Mayor.
to do 4, don't I? Entertain a motion to approve the AIA document A101, standard form of agreement between owner, town of Valdese, and contractor Houck Contracting LLC. We need a motion and a second for that, please.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay,
Second.
okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, council. Moving right along. Item K5, capital project ordinance amendment. I request a motion to approve the capital project ordinance amendment. I'll need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying yes and raise your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marissa. Okay, council, let me find my notes here.
While you're looking for your notes,
Go right ahead.
we made those 5 motions right in order by council council wards 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Gotta watch the numbers.
Only you would do that, Glenn.
You're being recorded, Gary. Okay, council item L is a public hearing, rezoning map amendment 1-2-24-B-1, Central Business District to B2, General Business District. At this time, I will call the public hearing into order for the rezoning map amendment 1-2-24-B-1, Central Business District to B2, General Business District. Since this is a public hearing, I declare it open, and I ask Mr. Johnson to proceed, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I guess you saved the best for last.
I will say that. The longest winded.
No, I'm gonna try to be quick because our council has been advised. I met with council during the past month or so, so most of this information is just a recapping or summary. This rezoning amendment, of course, is related to the land use action plan that was adopted in 2014 that establishes the growth and the vision for the town of Valdese. This plan generally should help us for at least 10 to 20 years. However, hopefully we'll get another one updated before 2034. The plan itself contains the land use map, the strategies and the action plans, which we're going to be using the implementation right here. You see the land use map. The key thing to focus here is that the land use map serves as a guide for future growth and development. So in terms of the strategies, and the reason I'm here this afternoon is because one of the action matrix, and that's within this plan is CD 113. And it says rezone properties is in downtown area to promote the expansion of the central business district into several blocks to create a new zoning district, which was also determined to be a high priority. Now, the commercial district's expansion, that means what you're gonna do, what we would like to do is rewrite the permitted use standards in the B1 and the B2 districts. We're gonna, as we stated before, create a new district and also expand the B2 business district. So let's talk about what we're gonna do here. Basically, what you have right here, and I was trying to, properties over on the west end of town from Praley Street. I was trying to get my magnifier here. Let me get the laser pointing. Okay, so these are the properties right here. It's comprised of 24 properties. Most of them are retail as well as some residential. This is one of several rezonings that I'll be coming back to you as a part of the land use action plan recommendation. That's the ones to the east. They're also from B1 to B2 is the ones on the east end of town. And again, I'll be coming back to you regarding that. But the purpose of this exercise basically is to change the zoning color from Central Business 1 to B2 General Business District. Just to reiterate for some regarding the process that may be unfamiliar with how the process works, it can be initiated by council. You receive the planning board, considers and makes its recommendation. We do send out notices, but I know that's important that the public is apprised of any change. And of course, you can see where the property is posted. So let's get into the amendment, the map amendment, as recommended by the Valdese Planning Board. I'm required to go ahead and do certain things in order for you to reach your recommendation. I'm required to go through, give you the request, a background, some review, and then the recommended action. So what is the request? The request is to rezone 24 parcels from its current designation of Central Business 1 to B2 General Business District. So you see here, there's just a few, vacant lot on Main Street. You can see the service center, Larry's Used Tires, AutoZone, McDonald's, VP, Dollar Tree, and the likes, and the parking lot of the school. So let's give you a little background. With only 2% of the Valdese planning area consisting of commercial land uses and the concentration of commercial development, that vision, that the Valdese Vision Land Use Action Plan recommends expanding our commercial corridor. And again, this is just one of several rezonings that I'll be presenting to you. All right, so the current zoning designation of all 24 parcels are B1, but they're also, the current uses consist of retail, sales and services, some personal care establishments, food service and residential, all of which are allowed in the B2 general business. And here you can see education, the school. Rock School is located here, manufacturing here. Agape Retirement Home is here. Future Apartments here, and here. So a number of uses surrounding these 24 parcels. So existing land use, to the extent to which zoning would be detrimental, it would not be detrimental if council changed this zoning designation from B1 to B2. In terms of traffic, we did not conduct a study. However, NCDOT traffic volume does reveal 8,700 vehicles on a daily basis. So don't anticipate, if you change the rezoning, that it would impact the traffic. So, third criteria, public services. Public services include public water and sewer and infrastructure, police and fire protection. Didn't bother asking the police chief nor the fire chief about this one. Our ability to respond has always been what it is. Great, okay. And the fourth, is it consistent with the Valdese vision, the land use action plan? The answer is yes. The general area is classified as commercial. The rezoning petition is consistent with the action plan. So in review, planning board met in February to rezone the 24 parcels from B1. The parcel uses are retail, sales and services, food service, personal care establishments, and residential. The B2 general business permits residential uses, and also traffic and public safety services will not be impacted. This rezoning petition is consistent with the land use action plan. So what we're going to recommend the town council approve and adopt the statement affirming that the zoning map amendment reasonableness and consistency with the Valdese Vision Land Use Action Plan. And I will tell you, for the sake of documentation and noting, that the following steps were taken in advance of the public hearing. Number one, that in addition to the property owners, all adjoining property owners received first class mailing notifications. The town clerk advertised in the local paper. Staff placed signs in the area, and which you saw from previous pictures. And with the notifications going out to the 24 property owners as well to an additional 24 adjoining property owners, we only received 2 calls and 1 visit. One call was related to a lady who was concerned that a house was going to be torn down, and then the other 2 were related to just the impact of the zoning. Council, I entertain some questions, or you can allow public input.
Council, questions?
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, I want to make sure I understand the B1 and the B2. Where does B1 start and end, and where does B2 start?
Currently, B1.
If you can help us with that, maybe
yes,
help
sir.
me with
Currently, B1 it currently extends from Eldred Street all the way past Church Street to Morganton. That's currently the B1. The land, all of B1 is, everything along Main Street is currently zoned central business. This is an attempt to put some of the peripheral businesses in their appropriate zoning designation, which is B2. Generally, B2 businesses are like laundromats, car dealerships, automotive repair, some of the uses that we currently have along Main Street as it is. This is just an attempt to redefine the zoning designation based upon the current uses of the property. But to answer your question again, our current B1 Central Business District runs from Eldred Street all the way down to Morganton. All of that is zoned either B1 and or some manufacturing that's contiguous to you.
And that's the B1.
That is correct. But we're hoping to change some of that now through this rezoning, and future rezonings would be to change some of that B1, put it in a B2 zoning designation. And then at some point in time, I'll come back to you and ask you to expand that central business district all the way down here to the railroad tracks to create opportunities for commercial development.
Okay. Very good, thank you.
Further questions, council? Are there any members of the public who would like to speak for or against this? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. And now, council, I will entertain a motion as follows. The motion to approve rezoning map amendment 1-2-24 and adopt the consistency and reasonableness statement for rezoning map amendment 1-2-24.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying yes, raising your right hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Thank you, council.
Thank you, council.
Item M, Zoning ordinance text amendment 1-2-24, Article E-B-2. At this time, I will declare the public hearing open, and Mr. Johnson, please
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
proceed.
This is a text amendment. Contrary to what you did previously, you just amended the map. You changed the colors on the map. This is actually proposing to change some of the language in the ordinance. Now, this change in the language, however, is consistent or coincides certainly with the Valdese Vision's recommendation to amend those commercial districts. So in addition to changing some of the color, they also said look at the uses within some of those districts to see what needed to be changed. So over the course of the next 3 to 6 months, you'll see a tremendous amount of changes in the permitted use listings of the Central Business District, the B2, as well. Another part of this, in addition to making changes as a result of the Valdese Vision, recent inquiries have been made. I received inquiries about some other business types that were not listed in our zoning ordinance, such as tattoo parlors, body modification, piercing shops. So my position has always been that if I didn't see anything that was basically listed or something similar in nature, I just told them, hey, it's not permitted. Well, I got my hand slapped as usual. Town attorney Swanson and planning consultant Hitchens made it clear that excluding any lawful use is prohibited. We cannot do what I've been doing. So I'm here to not only make amends on that, but then also, again, address issues with the Valdese Vision. Okay, so what is the request? The request, we're going to amend the definitions, the B2 General Business section, and the manufacturing section. Now, first we're going to move adult establishments and their standards from the B2 General Business District. That's a recommendation that's coming from the Valdese Vision, and move that to manufacturing with their standards. We're going to add a definition and call it a personal service establishment definition, which is defined as provide personal services such as beauty shops, barber shops, body modification establishments, tattoos, piercing, etc., tanning salons, nail salons. The attempt is to just to all those personal service establishments, combine them under one definition instead of having them listed out separately. And then we'll just add a definition, and we'll throw in the definition listed within the B2 General Business by right. Okay, so let's talk about the adult establishment. Currently, adult establishments, if you didn't know it, you know it now, has always been permitted in the B2 General Business District. If you approve the amendment this evening, it won't be. The recommendation is to move adult establishments to manufacturing. Get it out of downtown, and it would be located in manufacturing, with conditions, of course, which I'll go over in just a minute. You can also see where we're striking beauty shops and bicycle sales and dry cleaning. All of these personal service establishments will be combined into this definition right here, personal service establishment. So tailor, dressmaking, all of those will be combined. Okay, in the manufacturing district, as I said before, we would add adult establishments, and here are the standards. What's underlined reflects some additional language to strengthen the adult establishments, and that's meeting all the state requirements, and I even had Attorney Swanson review to make sure that this language would be consistent with anything applicable from the state. So we've strengthened it with anything that's underlined. But I will point out the item 10, it says that adult establishments shall be open to inspection at all reasonable times by any law enforcement officer, planning director, thank you, or such person that the planning director may designate for his duties. So I wanted to make sure that got added in there. Never know. Never know. Never
Especially
know.
the planning director.
Absolutely, sir. You know, that's probably one that will truly get me out of the office. Okay, the definitions, we just clearly added definitions. It says an establishment provide, a personal service establishment is defined as beauty shops, barbershop, body modification establishments, tanning salons, electronic shops, bicycles, that kind of stuff. So that's all we're doing. So our recommendation, I recommend that you approve the amendment. The planning board met, and they also signed off on these amendments, and that town council shall consider the planning board's recommendation before taking any action. And again, it was advertised in the paper, and I believe a consistency statement is also prepared for your review and approval. So again, I know it's a lot to take in. This is just one of, again, probably 4 public hearings if we're going to implement that particular action within the Valdese Vision Land Use Action Plan. So I'll stand before you for questions, Council.
Council, questions?
Could, Mr. Johnson, could you roll that all up into an answer to a simple question that a farm boy from Pennsylvania grew up in the shadows of Pittsburgh might ask? If somebody wants to start a strip joint here, where would they have to put it now?
They would have to put it in, under this, they would have to find an appropriate, they would have to put it in manufacturing.
Way out the other side of Meridian, somewhere like that.
Well, with those number of conditions, we just tell them, we're gonna tell them it's allowed in manufacturing, they have to find a place. So it can't be within churches, and I think we got about a church about on every corner, so that's good. Can't be within schools, can't be within a certain distance of schools, that's another requirement. So it's not left up to us to find a parcel for someone. It's important to know that it is permitted and they have to find the appropriate parcel.
Mr. Johnson, are you saying that it would be almost impossible to? That's what I'm interpreting.
There's a will,
I
there's a
think
way.
that was
That's,
the planning board's.
I'm taking the fifth on that one.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak for or against this action? Seeing none, council will entertain a motion to approve text amendment 1-2-24.
Do we need to close the public hearing first?
Yes.
Picky. Okay.
I was gonna.
Hearing none, I will now declare the public hearing closed.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you, Brian. Now, I'll entertain a motion to approve text amendment 1-2-24 and adopt the consistency statement for text amendment 1-2-24. A motion and a second, please.
I so move.
Second.
Further discussion?
Only because I will never be called the councilwoman who allowed strip clubs in my side of town. I'm gonna leave it there. Because that will come back at me quicker than anything, so, yeah. Because that is my side, that's I'm manufacturing, so.
Okay, those voting yes for this amendment, please raise your right hand and state yes.
Yes.
Nope.
And one no, motion carries. Okay. Finally, we've reached the good part of the agenda, the interim manager's report.
Can I see the clerk for just one quick second?
I can hear my church members now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. A, Granville Morrow Fun Fish Day is scheduled for Saturday, May 11th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at McGallard Falls. The rain date is May 18th, 2024. You can register online at valdese.rec desk.com if you're interested. Item B, Family Friday Nights Kickoff Celebration is scheduled for Friday, May 17th, 2024, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. with Too Much Silva at the Temple Field. Concerts will continue every Friday until August 30th, 2024. Item C, Town offices closed on Monday, May 27th, 2024, in observance of Memorial Day. Item D, next agenda review council meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, May 28th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in council's chambers, Valdese Town Hall. And item E, next regular council meeting scheduled for Monday, June 3rd, 2024 at 6 p.m. That's all.
Council, if I may, go back to item D under the manager's report. The meeting for Tuesday, May 28th, I would like to request that we move that meeting to start at 3 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. If that is acceptable to council.
Mr. Mayor, that's acceptable to me, and I'll make a motion that we would do that.
Okay, thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, council. I appreciate that very much. Okay, council comments. Anyone?
Just one. Want to assure everybody who's using internet, on the internet, and plans to use internet, nobody on this council's ever suggested that we not have broadband internet in Valdese. Never came up for the council. All we're concerned about is taking care of the town of Valdese as we were elected to do. So thank you.
I'd like to make a brief comment. You know, when I first came on council and we were discussing and dealing with this public safety building issue, where to place the building, I was never really excited about Pine Bur. I don't think, as a matter of fact, I don't want to speak for all council members, but at the time, really no one on council was excited about that location. Now we have the opportunity to acquire property just next door to us, which I think is a great blessing. It's going to be a blessing to our citizens, to our town, and those services, both police and fire and medical, will be right here in town, and they'll be convenient, you know, in order to be distributed out to all the town right here from the central part of town. So I just think that's a good thing.
Along that same line, I agree. I honestly don't think our public safety folks liked the location. It wasn't perfect. It was just, I think Councilman Ogle, your brother, it's all right to say that in public, ain't it? Your brother made the statement that there was no other parcels big enough available for that project. This piece of property on Massell Avenue, when it first came available, was $1 million, and we sure couldn't afford that. But I agree, I like the idea of a complex with everything in one area. Anyone else, council?
I'll say it again. Thank you all for giving input. Thank you for your emails through the week. Thank you for speaking to me in the grocery store, calling me. I appreciate all the feedback because that's what we're here for, is to represent the citizens. If we don't hear from you, we don't know how you feel. And I really greatly appreciate that everybody's coming together and working hard to make Valdese the best it can possibly be. So.
Anyone else? Okay, council, at this time, we will move to a closed session to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual. 11A3, to consult with an attorney retained by the town in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the town attorney and the town council, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. There will be, for our citizens, there will be no action taken, no votes made in a closed session. Okay? This time we'll move to a closed session. Do I need a motion? Okay, if I can get a motion and a second.
So move.
Okay, and those in favor signify by saying. Okay.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So be it.
You're-
God.